Magic Dao text, no female lead, no ambiguity. Please review the female characters that appear before evaluating them, and do not substitute too much. Don't be afraid, we are childhood sweethearts. I will naturally dig out my heart and lungs for you, saying that I will dig out the girl's heart. Rebel son, I am your own father. How dare you kill me? Su Chen was taken aback. Father, what are you saying? Who doesn't know that our father is kind and filial? Auntie, 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 auntie. Don't worry, the whole family is in trouble. Father will not be alone on his way to the underworld. Kill relatives and sentient beings. Su Chen is only seeking immortality. A righteous person. Demon thieves, those who cause trouble in the world should be punished. Su Chen's fan brother said, dare. The lackeys of the Holy Sect dare not defile me, Lord Su Chen. Lord Su Chen loves all sentient beings greatly and must unify the sky. This is a history of the growth of a demon giant. Chapter 1. Crossing. You are listening at novel full.audio. In a quaint hall of the Su family in Jingyang City, Qin Yan, the wife of the Su family, had a sorrowful expression on her face. Her eyes drooped and she clenched her lips, as if experiencing immense sadness. She complained to the head of the Su family, Su Chen, this wild bastard, is really bold and reckless. How dare he do something worse than a beast to Xuer? Master, you must uphold justice for Xuer. Her gaze turned to Su Chen standing in the center of the hall, and her voice was filled with anger. Su Chen, you bastard, why don't you kneel down and plead guilty? However, at this moment, Su Chen had a bewildered expression on his face. He looked around and was filled with doubts. Didn't I die in a car accident? Am I still alive? He looked at the beautiful woman who had been scolding him all along, and then at the antique buildings and decorations around him. It was obviously not a hospital. He tried to feel his physical condition and everything was normal, not like someone who had just had a car accident. A skeptical thought arose in Su Chen's heart. Did I travel back to ancient times? Looking at the costumes on these people, he couldn't determine which dynasty they belonged to. Su Chen was originally pondering whether he had traveled to any ancient dynasty in the country of China, when suddenly a huge memory flooded into his mind. The excruciating pain made him scream and faint. Seeing Su Chen suddenly faint, the middle-aged woman was also stunned. She thought Su Chen would prove his innocence in front of the master, and prepared a lot of evidence and arguments beforehand. However, she didn't expect this wild creature to faint before it even started. At this moment, Su Hai, the head of the Su family in the main seat of the hall, finally spoke up and said, "All right, someone, please help Su Chen rest in his room first, and then call a doctor to show him." Master, Su Chen almost violated his sister. I think he just didn't want to admit his guilt, so he pretended to faint and wanted to delay the time. The beautiful woman spoke anxiously, saying that after making so much preparation today, how could he just forget so easily? So what else do you want? Chen heir, no matter what, is also my seed. Do you want me to execute my own son? Su Hai also had some temper. This woman is a wild seed every time, it's really unreasonable. If it weren't for the fact that this woman's family had put in a lot of effort when she first established her family, she would have started scolding her long ago. At this moment, Wang Yan, the second wife of the head of the Su family on the other side, also said quietly, "Master, after all, Su Chen has made a big mistake this time, and there are all personal and material evidence. In my opinion, it's better to abolish his cultivation and deprive him of the qualification to compete for the position of young clan leader in the family." The head of the Su family lowered his face and said, "Abolish cultivation. What's the difference between killing him? As for the young leader of the family, I haven't died yet. Are you all hoping that your son can inherit the family? Seeing that the master was angry, Wang Yan quickly lowered her head and stopped speaking. Suhai scanned the expressions of the two people in front of him, knowing that if he didn't give a punishment today, he would not give up easily. He was pondering in his heart how to punish them. The madam's eyes flashed with a stern expression and she suggested, "Sir, the steward of the gold and iron mine has been transferred recently, and the position happens to be vacant. Why not punish Su Chen?" Su Hai pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. Madame Eyre was a bit puzzled as to why the other party easily let go, but she didn't say anything. Being transferred to a remote area, away from the family, can be considered as losing the qualification to compete for the inheritance of the family. How can one obtain the support of elders within the family after leaving the family? The family is not the sole authority of the head of the family, and the next heir naturally needs to win over others to support him. Su Chen can be said to have been transferred away from the political center, with no hope for his future. In the spacious room, Su Chen woke up leisurely, looking at the ancient and luxurious decorations around him, without any modern things, knowing that he had truly traveled through time. Rubbing his head, he had just inherited all the memories of the original owner of this body. It turned out that he had traveled to a cultivation world called the Heavenly Realm. This world is different from the blue star of the previous life. Cultivating immortality here is no longer a dream. According to inherited memories, the cultivation level of this world is Qi Refining Realm, Foundation Building Realm, Golden Elixir Realm, Yuaning Realm, and Spirit Transformation Realm. Furthermore, because the Heavenly Realm can only withstand cultivators during the period of transforming gods, taking the final step during this period will trigger thunder and lead to ascending into immortality. Crossing the realm is only the end result of the elimination of life and death. Therefore, many cultivators who are about to break through the period of transforming gods will suppress their strength and accumulate as much strength as possible to prepare before the arrival of the heavenly calamity, which is known as the period of crossing calamity. And now the Su family is one of the three major immortal cultivation families in Jingyang City. Unfortunately, cultivating immortals requires a talent for spiritual roots. Among them, the third level or above is the upper spiritual root, the fourth to sixth level is the middle spiritual root, the seventh to ninth level is the lower spiritual root, and the first level is the extreme. It can be said that it is difficult for one among millions of people to come up with one, while the ninth level spiritual root barely qualifies for cultivation. Although the original owner was a cultivator with a 9th grade spiritual root talent, the 9th grade was ultimately the lowest talent. Despite the original owner's hard work in cultivation, he is still only a second-level cultivator in the Qi refining stage. The Qi refining period can be divided into early, middle, and late stages. After years of hard work, the original body has only reached the second level of cultivation, which shows the importance of spiritual root talent for practitioners. And he is located in Jingyang City, on the northern border of Luyun Immortal Dynasty. His identity is the third son of Su Hai, the head of the Su family, one of the three major cultivation families in Jingyang City. His predecessor was framed by his own aunt, which led him to bear unfounded charges, and this is the scene when he first crossed over. As he was pondering, a mechanical voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Ding dong, it has been detected that the host and summoning system are 100% compatible. Is it binding? Although my mind is still a bit confused, I often read online articles and am not unfamiliar with the system. I quickly realized it. Bind, definitely bind. Su Chen spoke excitedly. Ding dong, binding successful. The beginner gift package has been distributed. Please check it yourself. The cold mechanical sound of the system rang out again. As expected, it is a must-have system for travelers, and online culture is not deceiving me. Chapter 2. Mining Area. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Maid cannot survive for 5 chapters, don't substitute too much, just as Su Chen was overjoyed. The room door was pushed open, and a charming maid rushed in with a crying voice and said urgently, "Woo-woo, young master, it's not good. The master announced that he will punish you to manage the mining area." Looking at the maid in front of her, who had a superior appearance, beauty, and figure, Su Chen smiled at the corner of her mouth. "This woman's name is Yun'er. She was a personal maid assigned by the family to serve the original owner when she was a child. The two grew up together and were quite intimate, so she didn't have to knock on the door when she entered." Looking at Yun'er, Su Chen asked, "When will we depart?" "Young master, once your health is better, let's set off immediately," replied Yun'er. "Okay, I understand. I'm not in any major health issues. Let's set off early tomorrow morning," Su Chen said calmly. Looking at the young master who had just accepted in front of him, Yun'er was taken aback and said, "Young master, you must have been wrongly accused, right? How could you have done such a thing? Now hurry up and beg the master for mercy, tvt." Looking into Yun'er's tearful eyes, Su Chen couldn't help but reach out and touch her head, then smiled and said, all right, isn't it the gold and iron mining area? Let's just treat it as going out for a trip. Can you help me arrange a convoy?" But. Yun'er wanted to say something more. Su Chen cut off the railway with his nails and said, "No need to say anything more. Get down and prepare quickly." Looking at the young master's resolute tone in front of him, Yun'er had no choice but to retreat. After dismissing the maid, Su Chen finally had time to study the system and immediately spoke up, System. The host is here." The mechanical sound rang out again. Upon hearing the system's response, Su Chen excitedly spoke up and asked, "System, what functions do you have?" This system is a summoning system, which mainly has two functions. Firstly, it can draw summoning characters to assist the host. Secondly, it can summon various martial arts treasures, props, bloodline constitutions to help the host improve their strength. The characters summoned by the system will be 100% loyal to the host. After introducing the system, a light curtain similar to an online game panel appeared in front of Su Chen. The left button is for summoning characters, and the right button is for summoning props. Both buttons have 0 remaining chances in the lottery. Seeing this, he remembered the newbie gift package mentioned in the previous system, and opened the item list. He saw a golden lotus, a pair of eyeballs, and 1 chance for character and 1 chance for prop lottery. Opening the introduction of Jinlian, Su Chen's breathing became rapid. It was written on the introduction that colorful holy lotus could increase the user's qualification to 1 level. System, refine the 7-colored holy lotus for me. Ding dong, successful refining. As soon as Su Chen finished speaking, he felt that his cultivation level had directly broken through to the 3rd level of the Qi refining stage. After all, the original master had been stuck in the level for a long time. Now, his spiritual root talent has been upgraded from 9th level to 1st level, and his absorption of heaven and earth spiritual energy is countless times faster than before. It is only natural for him to break through the level. Opening up the introduction of those eyes again, the eye of detection can detect a character's loyalty to the host. Not bad, it's also a good thing. With these eyes, at least you don't have to worry about being stabbed back. The system will replace them with the eye of detection, he said immediately. Feeling the discomfort in his eyes, Su Chen knew that the replacement had been successful. Then he refocused his gaze on the light screen ahead and clicked to summon the character. Start summoning. Ding dong, summoning successful. Do you want to summon a character now? No need, just come out at the critical moment. At present, I am in the Su family and it is not convenient to have more people to come. It is difficult to explain, so I clicked on the item to summon a lottery. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for summoning the Imperial Sword technique, which has automatically helped the host master it proficiently. It's truly a system, indeed simple and crude. Su Chen couldn't help but sigh. How to obtain the number of summonings in the system? Su Chen asked. Ding dong, the number of character calls and item calls will automatically refresh every 6 months. After understanding the function of the system and receiving the beginner gift package, Su Chen pondered his current situation in bed. He has inherited all the memories of the original owner, and the body he passed through is also called Su Chen. He is the illegitimate son of the Su family head, one of the 3 major families in Luyun Immortal Dynasty, Nanyang County, and Jingyang City. The 3rd son of the Su family, he ranks 3rd. His birth mother was just an ordinary concubine and passed away shortly after giving birth to him. In addition, his cultivation talent was only a 9th grade lower level spiritual root, so he was not valued in the Su family. Previously, he had an impulsive personality, acted recklessly, had no background or talent, and wanted to compete for the position of head of the family. At the same time, he offended his 2 brothers, which led to being framed. Although the punishment seems to be just being transferred to a remote mining area as a manager, it is not very serious. But the mining area is not a good job. The Su family is a big family in Jingyang City, and those miners are criminals and criminals bought by the Su family at extremely low prices from the government. There might be a riot one day, Su Chen thought to himself. In recent years, several managers of the Su family in that mining area have also died, all in the miners' uprising. If it had been in the past, he might have gone to plead with his father, but now. After owning the system, there is no need to be afraid. It happens that it is inconvenient to secretly develop and strengthen one's own strength outside the Su family. Su Chen walked up to the mirror inside the room, which showed a handsome face in his early 20s with a hint of sharpness. The face of this life is not bad, looking at myself in the mirror, there is a hint of excitement in my eyes. Eternal life. Becoming an immortal. A different world, fun. In his past life, he was a wealthy second generation, born with a golden key and grew up carefree throughout his life. In the eyes of many people, this kind of life is already a godly day, but Su Chen finds it very boring and often experiences various exciting extreme sports. It can be said that he has done everything except murder. Chapter 3. Departure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning. Young master, the convoy has been arranged and can depart at any time outside the mansion. Yun Er's voice came from outside the door. Okay, I understand. I'll go say goodbye to my father first. You can go to the convoy and wait for me. When I come out, I'll set off for the gold and iron ore area. Su Chen finished speaking and got up, dressed and walked out. After leaving the house, I walked towards the place where the clan leader lived and was about to enter when someone stopped me. San Gongzi, are you going to find the master? The master has already closed down, so please go back. The old butler said calmly. The old butler in front of me, surnamed Li, although also a butler of the Su family, is usually very low-key. In the Su family, he is only responsible for serving Su Hai. Although he does not have much real power, he was with Su Hai when the Su family established their family in Jingyang City. He is considered the oldest butler of the Su family and also the confidant of the clan leader Su Hai. Upon hearing this, Su Chen had to say, then please ask Butler Li to convey to my father that my child is going to the gold and iron ore area now. I hope father takes good care. The old butler nodded and said, okay, third young master. Then he stopped speaking. Su Chen didn't say much anymore, just turned around and left, feeling deeply saddened. At least he was also Su Hai's biological son, and before leaving, he didn't even see him. How unpleasant it was. Young master, are we leaving now? Yun Er's voice rang out as soon as we arrived outside the mansion. Staring at the maid in front of her for a moment, her face was a bit gloomy, but she quickly recovered and put on a warm smile, saying, okay, let's go now. Looking at Jingyang City, which was gradually moving away from sight, Yun Er said somewhat reluctantly, young master, can we still come back? Su Chen chuckled lightly and said, silly girl, don't worry, I will come back sooner or later. In the swaying carriage, Su Chen rubbed his head with a headache. No matter how much the carriage was adjusted, it couldn't compare to cars from previous lives. He was unsteady all the way. If he hadn't cultivated himself, he would have broken up long ago, and could not help but complain a few words. At this moment, the carriage was lifted and Yun'er crawled in, saying, "Young master, don't complain, why don't I rub your shoulders?" Looking at Yun'er in front of him, Su Chen smiled and said, "Young master, no matter how I say I am also a cultivator, I wouldn't be able to endure this hardship." For some reason, Yun'er always felt that Su Chen was a bit different from before. Looking at his smile, it felt a bit gloomy and frightening. However, she didn't pay much attention. She smiled at Su Chen and said, "Young master, it's getting late. How about we go to an inn in Shanquan town ahead to rest?" Su Chen said with a smirk on his face, "Oh. As long as you drive overnight, you can arrive at the gold and iron mining area early tomorrow morning. Why waste time?" Yun'er said wrongly, "It's been raining these days, and the night road is not easy to walk. Besides, he's just an ordinary person. How can he compare to you cultivators? I've been bumping on the carriage all day today, and my body is going to fall apart. If I don't rest, I can't bear it anymore. Do you feel sorry for him?" Every time she acted coquettishly like this in the past, Su Chen would comfort her well and fulfill her demands. But this time, Su Chen just stared at her with a smile on his face, his eyes seeming to see through everything, which inevitably made Yun'er feel a bit flustered. Staring at Yun'er for a moment, Su Chen suddenly reached out and hugged her, stroking her beautiful face and whispered, "All right, then let's go to Shanquan town and rest for the night." Upon hearing Su Chen's agreement, Yun'er smiled sweetly and said happily, "Hee, you know the young master is the best to me." After finishing speaking, he lifted his head and kissed Su Chen, then quickly lowered his head. After a long time, he dared to look up at Su Chen and shyly said, "Young master, I'll go command the guards to let them rest for a night after arriving at Shanquan town." Looking at Yun'er with a red face in his arms, Su Chen's lips carried a hint of a cold smile. "No need, we'll talk about it when we get to Shanquan town." So, in the luxurious carriage, a man and a woman leaned tightly together, without any further words, unsure of what they were both thinking at the moment. At this moment, Su Chen's heart was filled with complexity. Yesterday, he received a beginner gift package from the system and obtained the Eye of Detection to detect the loyalty value of people around him. As my personal maid, I naturally used Yun'er early this morning. Even he didn't expect that the girl in front of me who had admired me from childhood to adulthood would have a loyalty value of 0. Does this mean anything else to say? Originally, it was because of this that the Jurchen was a close mate assigned by the family when she was a child. Now it seems that she is too naive, but it is unclear whether this woman is her own elder sister or her second sister. Hee. I didn't expect them to be so impatient, so Su Chen was demoted to the gold and iron mining area. Those sluts still didn't want to let him go, and on the way, they wanted to get ready to take action to get rid of themselves. Looking at Yun'er with her head lowered below her, Su Chen's face showed a disdainful expression, and her eyes gradually became cold. Let yourself rest in Shanquan town, thinking that the other party has already prepared the means in advance, just wait for yourself. As for why he should agree to the other party, one of the reasons is that he has obtained the system, and the talent of EP1-10 can be said to be invincible in the same realm. The friar's fighting consumes Reiki very much. Each move needs to mobilize Reiki from the elixir field to perform. In the same realm, if the strength of the skill is the same, there is no other means, which is naturally more profound and lasting than the Reiki in the body. And how fast does Su Chen's first-grade spiritual root absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth? As soon as the spiritual energy is consumed and the spell is cast, the consumed spiritual energy in the body will be immediately replenished, which shows the terrifying advantage of top-notch spiritual root cultivators in battles. I have a great talent for spiritual roots, and my cultivation to the third level of qi refining has not been exposed. People in the family must have thought he was the second level of qi refining, and those despicable women sent cultivators from the third level of qi refining to assassinate me. As for cultivators in the middle stage of qi refining, even in the Su family of the Jingyang City clan, they can take on the position of steward and hold some power. Can they be easily mobilized? Secondly, the character he summoned for the first time is likely to come and pay his respects during this crisis. Thirdly, Su Chen was already a playboy in his past life, a pampered young master who was a bit uncomfortable bumping around in this carriage, so he also wanted to rest. So I agreed to the woman. As for the danger, the soldiers will stop it, but the water will cover it. Anyway, even if I run away this time, I will find these troubles sooner or later as long as I'm still alive. It's better to solve them directly in this Shanquan town. Chapter 4. Shanquan Town. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sangongzi, the town of Shanquan is ahead. The voice of the commander of the escort came from outside the carriage. Upon hearing this, Su Chen lifted the curtain and looked at the commander of the guard. In his memory, this person was named Tianmengjie, a small leader responsible for protecting dozens of servants in his profession. This person joined the Su family as a servant at the age of 10 and has been a laborer. He worked diligently in the Su family for about a decade before being taught some basic skills. Later, he worked hard to cultivate and barely reached the level of qi refining. He then began to follow the caravan to practice everywhere, but unfortunately, he was relatively honest and did not know how to flatter others. Therefore, even if he had a cultivation, he was still unknown in the Su family, otherwise he would not have been called to protect him. Su Chen is here. Although he was sent to protect him and manage these dozens of guards this time, he was actually just a servant, and his status in the Su family was still very low. Tell the convoy to rest overnight in Shanquan town, young master. I'm a bit tired, Su Chen said lazily. Good young master, the commander of the guard said respectfully. Watching Tianmengjie's departure, Su Chen pondered in his heart that this person had a loyalty of 50 to him, neither high nor low. It seemed that he was not sent by those cheap women, but could be recruited. Shanquan town is just a small town, but because it is located at the border between Luyuan Xianchao and Yenyang Xianchao, there are a large number of merchants from both countries in this area, which is relatively prosperous. After the carriage arrived in Shanquan town, Yun'er spoke up and said, Young master, I heard that a family in this town called Yueli Inn has good food. Why don't we stay there tonight? Okay, let's rest at the Yueli Inn tonight. A hint of disdain flashed around Su Chen's lips. She was just a foolish woman with no means, and I think this inn is the trap arranged this time. After arranging the inn, Su Chen took Yun'er and a few guards to stroll around the mountain spring town. For him, who was a modern soul in his past life, he has seen many high-rise buildings and bustling modern cities, and looking at this ancient street view also has a unique flavor. Su Chen looked on both sides, but Yun'er seemed a bit bored. For her, who grew up in Jingyang City since childhood, what was there to see in this small place? Although it was a bustling border, it was just a town. How could it compare to Jingyang City? At this moment, a tavern caught Su Chen's attention, with the 3 characters, Mountain Spring Wine, written on the plaque. The aroma of the wine could be smelled from afar, and the shop was even more crowded. Su Chen immediately walked in with everyone. In his past life, he was often suppressed by several brothers and often borrowed alcohol to relieve his worries, so drinking was also considered one of his hobbies. Shopkeeper, bring you the best wine. I'll take all of it, young master, Su Chen said loudly. The shopkeeper heard the sound and saw a young master dressed in brocade walking in, accompanied by maids and guards. His chubby face quickly showed a hint of flattery and he said, Young master, you came in time. We only have 3 jars of mountain spring wine left in our store. If you're too late, it might be gone. Seeing the young master's face, it's probably his first time coming to our mountain spring town. The taste is guaranteed to satisfy you. Hee, it seems that my young master's luck is quite good, Su Chen chuckled lightly. Please wait a moment, young master. I also want to buy a jar of mountain spring wine for my family. Since there are still 3 jars left, I wonder if you can give it to me for the next jar. Just then, a young man with a servant-like appearance walked into the door and said. This son's real name is Zhou Sheng. Due to his quick thinking, he was only interested in the Chu family a few years ago and was given the surname Chu by the young master of the Chu family. He was transferred from a laborer to a caravan, and this time he passed by Shanquan town. Naturally, he wanted to buy a jar of Shanquan brewed wine and promote his young master with filial piety. Su Chen glanced at him and ignored him. Seeing the other party ignoring him, Chu Sheng's face turned cold and he snorted coldly, Young master, I am from the 3 major families of Jinyang City and the Chu family. He also hoped that young master could give him some face. Jinyang City is a major city in Nanyang County, and the most influential families in Jinyang City are undoubtedly the 3 major families, with the Chu family being one of them. Su Chen chuckled and said, What a beast. I'll take all of this wine, as young master said. It's true that the beast doesn't understand human language. As soon as the words fell, everyone around burst into laughter, and a few guards also looked at Chu Sheng jokingly. Being ridiculed by so many people around him, Chu Sheng's face turned red and he said angrily, Does this young master think that I am just a servant of the Chu family and easy to bully? Although he is just a servant of the Chu family, some of the impoverished families in small places cannot match him, and even some small families have to bow down when they see the Chu family steward. Su Chen was too lazy to bother him anymore and looked directly at the guard, saying, Why are you guys still watching? Why don't you throw him out? The guards immediately took orders and approached to surround Chu Sheng. Although he was appreciated by the young master of the Chu family and had practiced some martial arts, facing so many guards, he was unable to match his 4 fists with 2 fists and was directly thrown out. Lying on the ground, watching Su Chen leave, Chu Sheng gritted his teeth fiercely. Although he was a servant, he was also a servant of the Chu family, one of the 3 major families in Jinyang City. As the saying goes, beating a dog also depends on the owner. He stared at Su Chen's back as he left. This matter is not over. Returning to the inn, he opened one of the jars of mountain spring wine, and in an instant, the aroma of the wine filled the air. Su Chen couldn't help but see that it was indeed a good wine. Just as Su Chen was tasting the fine wine, Chu Sheng, who had been humiliated on the other side, returned to the inn where the Chu family was resting, preparing to find a support. The Chu family is a major clan in Jinyang City, and every year there are caravans going out for trade. Chu Sheng, who had only been with the Chu family for a few years, was noticed by the second young master of the Chu family and directly transferred to the caravan. Although he was not in charge, he was also considered a minor leader. Returning to the inn where the Chu family was located, he arrived outside a room and listened to the unpleasant sound inside. He knocked on the door and said, Steward, it's me, Chu Sheng. A lazy voice came from inside the door. Chu Sheng, come in. Pushing open the door, there was a young man in a brocade robe in his 20s and 60s, holding 2 heavily dressed women in his arms and laughing. There were also some drinks and dishes on the table, and on each side sat a steward from the Chu family who also hugged the women and accompanied them. The person in front of him, who was leaning on both sides, was the consul of the Chu family caravan on this trip, Chu Tian. Judging from his demeanor, he knew that in the field of lay merchants, women were not forgotten, and even small places like Shanquan town were selling goods. This kind of goods can achieve the position of consul thanks to his father being an elder of the Chu family. Although he is promiscuous and has average abilities, he is still a direct descendant of the Chu family. Assigning him 2 capable stewards to manage the caravan did not cause any major problems. Although he doesn't do anything, not doing it means he won't make mistakes. Coupled with his father's identity, he has firmly held this position in recent years. Chapter 5. Conflict. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Looking at the scene in front of him, Su Chen clearly understood it and immediately squeezed out a smile, arching his hand and saying, "I've seen the consul before." Seeing Su Chen come in, Chu Tian waved his hand and said with a smile, "Su Chen, you're here at the right time. I'll have the shopkeeper call another girl up." Cough, no need. Su Chen quickly shook his head. He didn't come to find Chu Tian to drink flower wine. Hey, don't underestimate it. It would be great to have girls in such a small place. After we finish our mission and return to Jingyang City, we will take you to the best brothel to be carefree and carefree. Although Chu Tian's ability is average, he is not stupid. He knows he cannot manage the caravan well, so he has always been very good to the other managers. Over the years, he has made the managers obedient to him. As for Su Chen, although he is not in charge, he is still appreciated by the younger brother of the current clan leader of the second prince of the Chu family, so his attitude towards him is quite good and he is well taken care of. Su Chen suddenly said with tears in his eyes, "Consul, I was bullied when I bought wine in town just now. Bullying me is fine." After I revealed the identity of the Chu family, the other party became even more aggressive and started taking action. It's like they don't pay attention to our Chu family. After listening to his words, Chu Tian was also somewhat surprised and asked in confusion, "Oh. Who dares to hit someone from my Chu family?" Immediately, Su Chen added fuel and vinegar to the story. Chu Tian snorted coldly and said, "Don't worry, I will make the decision for you. Even if it's a servant of my Chu family, not everyone can bully me." After speaking, Chu Tian instructed a caravan escort to inquire about the other party's background. Shanquan town is just such a large place, and such things are easy to find out. "Thank you, Consul, for making the decision for me," Su Chen quickly thanked. Watching Su Chen shed tears of gratitude towards him, Chu Tian nodded in satisfaction, feeling proud. Servants are just servants, and as long as you give them a little 3 melons and 2 dates, they will be grateful to you. He also often does such things. Returning to the consul, the other party is from the Su family. In less than half an hour, the guard inquired about the news and returned. Upon hearing these words, Chu Tian's face changed and he felt a bit embarrassed. He thought that he had promised to make decisions for him just now in front of Chu Tian. If it were just some small families, he would have really gone, but the other party happened to be the Su family, one of the 3 major families in Jingyang City. Although the Su family has the shortest establishment time among the 3 major families, Su Hai's strength is not simple. Moreover, the Chu family is currently in a low period, and the previous head of the family died unexpectedly. Otherwise, we could still compete with the old man of the Su family. Although the eldest and second young masters are both talented, they are still too young. Now, the gap between the Chu family and the Su family is still too large. But I haven't heard of a Su family caravan passing through Shanquan town recently. Suddenly, Chu Tian seemed to remember something and asked, "Who is leading the team from the Su family?" The guard replied, "It's Su Chen, the 3rd son of the Su family." After learning that it was Su Chen, Chu Tian was very certain that this 3rd young master of the Su family did not have much power in the family, and his talent was heard to be average. Like him, he was only at the 2nd level of qi cultivation, and even if he really started fighting, he was not afraid of him. Moreover, Su Chen had made a big mistake and was punished by the family. With his position in the Su family, he probably wouldn't have any powerful guards, and he had 2 managers at the 4th level of qi cultivation on his side. Chu Tian stood up and laughed heartily, "It's indeed him. Su Chen, don't worry, I'll make the decision for you." Su Chen was taken aback at the words. He had just heard the guard say that the other party was the 3rd son of the Su family, and his heart was half cold. Not to mention causing trouble for the other party, it would be better if they didn't come and clean up themselves. But seeing Chu Tian's reaction, Su Chen asked somewhat puzzled, isn't that the third young master of the Su family? He's not the steward of the Su family. Can we offend him? Chu Tian disdainfully said, you don't know anything. Don't look at him as the third son of the Su family. In fact, he is just an illegitimate child. He is not loved by his uncle, and has no real power in his hands. I heard that he has recently made a big mistake and been demoted from the family. Then he said, I was wondering earlier that the Su family hasn't had many caravans passing through Shanquan town recently. As expected, it's really Su Chen. After finishing speaking, Chu Tian waved his hand and went to trouble Su Chen with his guards. In the bedroom of the Uli Inn, Su Chen was controlling a long sword to shuttle through the air. The system produced a technique that he mastered without practice, and he would control the flying sword to play when he had free time. At this moment, a commotion came from downstairs, as if someone was still calling out their name. Su Chen walked downstairs and saw that dozens of his guards were confronting a group of people at the entrance of the inn. Young master, the other party is the rescue soldier brought in by the Chu family servant you met at the tavern before. The leader is a consul from a Chu family caravan, said Yunar, a maid who was close to her. Okay, I got it, Su Chen said lightly. Seeing Su Chen coming down from upstairs, Chu Tian sneered and said, Su Chen, you have so much courage that even the people of our Chu family dare to rob us. I tell you, even one of our Chu family servants won't be able to bully you. As soon as these words were spoken, all the servants who followed Chu Tian showed excitement on their faces. Seeing that their consul dared to trouble the third young master of the Su family for such servants, could they not be moved? Seeing the reactions of the people around him, Chu Tian became even more proud and said with a stern sense of righteousness, for the sake of being one of the three major families in Jingyang City, I don't want to hurt the harmony of our three families. Well, just apologize to Chu Sheng. Otherwise, you know the consequences, Chu Tian sneered coldly. Looking at Chu Tian shouting in front of him, there was a certain impression in my memory. Although he was a consul, he was just a second-generation ancestor. Su Chen really couldn't understand why the other party dared to trouble him. Su Chen, the consul just asked you to apologize to me, which is already considered to save face for your Su family. Otherwise, with our two mid-stage gas refining officials here, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave Shanquan town. At this moment, Chu Xing couldn't help but stand up and shout loudly. Since the consul has said that Su Chen has no power in the Su family, and now he will be demoted to a remote place, far away from the family, there is nothing to be afraid of. As soon as Chu Xing thought that the young master of the Su family in Jingyang City was about to apologize to him, he was extremely excited in his heart. After listening to his words, Su Chen's mouth curved higher and higher, and he couldn't help but burst into laughter, tears streaming down his face. Chu Xing saw Su Chen's appearance and was about to say something, but his eyes were already filled with a sword light. Extremely rapid, when he reacted, he could only see his headless body standing in place, and then there was no life left. Only two stewards from the middle stage of Qi refining reacted and quickly protected Chu Tian from being stunned, taking out magical tools to stare at Su Chen. Chapter 6. Murder. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. Attacks. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Third young master, is there anything you want me to do? Tian Mengjie asked cautiously, clearly surprised by Su Chen's fierce side at the inn today. Tian Mengjie, right. I've heard of you. After working diligently in our Su family for over a decade, you finally became a cultivator. You should have a bright future. But now you're assigned to be the guard of me, a demoted person. Are you willing? Su Chen asked calmly. Tian Mengjie's heart was filled with complexity. He joined the group of servants in the Su family with him. Now, none of them have gone further than him, but he still smiled bitterly and said, Young master, I am stupid and don't know how to say anything. I have often offended people in the Su family over the years. The Su family didn't drive me out, and even made me become a cultivator from a mortal and step onto the path of immortality. I am already very satisfied with being a villain. Su Chen stared straight at Tianmengjie with a sneer and said, "Hee, satisfied. All the ordinary people who were at the same time as you have become butlers in the Su family, and those who have some talent to become cultivators have even been transferred to the caravan. But now that you have become a cultivator, you are sent with me to the place where birds don't poop in the Lanshan mining area. Tell me you are satisfied." Then he spoke up and said, "If you were still the same ordinary person as before, it would be fine. But now that you have become a cultivator, let me guess. As my guardian, your monthly salary is 3 spiritual stones or 5. A cultivator needs spiritual stones very much. How could you be satisfied?" Tianmengjie lowered his head and remained silent. Looking at Tianmengjie, who had lowered his head and remained silent, Su Chen said calmly, "I think you understand our current situation. We are now like grasshoppers on a rope, losing and prospering together. Having a bright future, wealth, and opportunities, one must seize them on their own." Su Chen stopped speaking. Tianmengjie finally reacted and immediately knelt on the ground, saying, "I, Tianmengjie, swear to the heavenly way to be loyal to Prince Su Chen to the death. If there is any betrayal, the heavens and the earth will perish. The vow of a cultivator is not a joke made by ordinary people. The heavenly way of this world truly exists. If violated, punishment will indeed be imposed." At this moment, Su Chen nodded satisfactorily and said, "Okay, from now on, you Tianmengjie will be my trusted subordinate." After finishing speaking, he handed the storage bag containing 100 spirit stones to him. "With your status in the Su family, I don't think you have many spirit stones. Take them for good cultivation." As Su Chen, he naturally saved a lot of savings over the years. Looking at the spirit stone in the storage bag, Tianmengjie immediately bowed gratefully and was about to return to his room to practice. "By the way, let the guards only eat the dry food they carry with them tonight. Stay alert tonight, and if there is any odor, cover your mouth and nose immediately. Tonight may not be peaceful," Su Chen said calmly. "Okay, young master." Could it be that young master had received some news in advance? Tianmengjie originally wanted to ask more questions, but looking at his calm demeanor, he didn't ask much. At night, Yun Er's voice came from outside the door, "Young master, dinner is ready. Should we go downstairs to eat or have the shopkeeper bring the room?" "Bring it up," Su Chen said. In no time, Yun Er came in with a waiter carrying dishes. After the shopkeeper left, Yun Er sat next to Su Chen and said, "Hee, young master, do you want me to feed you?" Looking at the rich table of dishes in front of him, Su Chen sneered in his heart. The foolish woman was just using these methods, but on the surface, she wore a smile and said, "No need, good dishes must be paired with fine wine. Come fill the mountain spring I bought today for the young master." When Yun Er filled his glass, Su Chen said again, "Come on, Yun Er, this wine is really good. You can also have a glass." "Okay, young master." Yun Er sneered in her heart, "And this wine should be the decapitation wine for your trip." As soon as he finished drinking a glass, Su Chen hugged her in his arms. Looking at Su Chen's face, he thought of the scene of ruthless murder at the inn today and felt a bit scared. However, considering the benefits of completing the task, he still spoke up and said, "Young master, let me pick some vegetables for you." "Don't worry, Yun Er. You've been serving me for over 10 years, right? Now that you're being demoted to the Lanshan mining area with me, it's really hard for you," Su Chen said, looking at the beautiful woman in his arms. "Young master, don't say that. Yun Er grew up with you since childhood and has long regarded you as her family. Wherever you are, it is Yun Er's home." Perhaps it was because Yun Er's face was slightly unnatural when she thought about what was about to happen next. At this moment, Su Chen held Yun Er's chin and their faces were almost pressed together. Su Chen stared at her eyes and spoke softly, Yun, do you think someone will come and assassinate me tonight? A hint of panic flashed in Yun'er's eyes, but a smile still squeezed out as she spoke, young master, you're joking. Who dares to assassinate the young master of the Su family in Jingyang City? Su Chen, on the other hand, showed a smile rather than a smile and said, alas, whether it's good fortune or bad luck, it's hard to avoid bad luck. What should come will eventually come. Yun'er was about to say something, but a shout of killing came from downstairs. Su Chen put down Yun'er in his arms and said, look, isn't this here? Then he turned around and walked downstairs. On the first floor of the inn, several guards were standing guard when they saw more than 10 black-clothed people suddenly rushing towards them on the street. As soon as they made a call, the guards were killed by the black-clothed man at the forefront holding a large sword, with no fighting power. Seeing this scene, the guards who had just heard the commotion were about to charge forward when Tianmengjie shouted loudly, don't act recklessly, everyone across the street is a cultivator. Upon hearing this, dozens of guards suddenly stopped and dared not take any further steps. They all looked at the dozen or so black-clad men and cultivators in front of them in terror. They are just warriors among ordinary people, how dare they step forward? At this moment, the only cultivator among the guards, Tianmengjie, approached and said, everyone, we are members of the Su family in Jingyang City. The third son of our Su family is upstairs. Do you want to be enemies with our Su family? As soon as he finished speaking, the leader in black sneered and said, Su family, I killed the people of the Su family. Without further ado, he just picked up his sword and chopped them off. Feeling the fluctuation of the cultivation level of the third layer of qi refining on the opponent's body, Tianmengjie was filled with despair. As soon as he took out his weapon to confront the enemy, he couldn't stop a single move and was directly chopped off, and his long sword fell to the ground. Chapter 8. Attack 2. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Fool, I lied to you. You are listening at novel full.audio. In the bedroom on the second floor, Yun was sitting at the table trembling. She had thought that Su Chen would die under the hands of those black-clothed men, but she never expected that things would turn out like this. Although she is not familiar with cultivators, she also knows that her young master's talent is not good, and she is known as a waste in the Su family. But the leader of the black-clothed man, who looked very strong, was injured by his own young master and left. And who was the person who appeared behind the leader at some unknown time later? I don't know if there are any guards around him. Just as she was lost in thought, the door was pushed open. When she saw someone coming, she quickly stood up, tears streaming down her face and said pitifully, young master, are you okay? Have those black-clad people been repelled? Su Chen didn't reply, but walked directly to Yun'er's side, reached out to touch her smooth and delicate face, wiped away her tears, and then said, of course we repelled. Upon hearing this, Yun'er immediately put on a smile and was about to say something when her hand, which was touching her own face, slid down and pinched her neck. Young master, what are you doing? Yun spoke anxiously, looking at Su Chen's gaze. Jia, what are you doing? What do you say I want to do? Are you very disappointed that I didn't die? Su Chen's face suddenly turned fierce and he laughed. Pinching Yun'er's hand, Su Chen increased his strength a bit, and his face regained calmness. Tell me, whose person are you? Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar face in front of her, Yun'er knew she had been exposed. Thinking of Su Chen's harsh side, she immediately shuddered and said, young master, I am from the madam's side. She asked me to lure you to Shanquan town, and for greater safety, she also asked me to poison the dishes. What a slut, she wants to kill me so much. At this moment, Yun showed a pitiful expression and said, young master, considering that we have grown up together for so many years as childhood sweethearts, can you spare my life? Don't worry, young master, I won't kill women, Su Chen slowly put down the hand that was gripping her neck and chuckled lightly upon hearing these words. Yun-Er felt relieved. Before Xie could finish speaking, a flying sword pierced through her back, gradually blurring before her eyes. Her body could no longer support her and she fell forward. Looking at the body pouring towards him, Su Chen hugged it and looked at Yun-Er, who had lost her breath. He gently caressed her pale and bloodless face and said softly, "Fool, I lied to you. You really believe me? You're so naive and want to learn to be an undercover agent. Who will die if you don't die?" Holding the beauty in her arms, Su Chen left the room and threw it down the hallway. "Let's bury it together," he said before returning to the room. Looking at the corpses of their own young master and maid, the guards trembled and dared not say anything more. Returning to the room, Su Chen spoke up to inquire, "System, is it there?" "Ding dong, always here." "Okay, come and explain to me what happened to the summon thing." After speaking, Su Chen released the summoned character from the system space. Just after solving the black-clothed man, he realized that the summoned character was not a living person and directly entered the systems built at in space. Looking at the lifeless figure in front of him, Su Chen didn't know what to say. Ding dong, the summoned characters are all bodies that have been transformed by the system and conform to the laws of heaven and earth in this area. Okay, then why doesn't there be any spiritual intelligence? Su Chen asked again. Ding dong, if you want it to be 100% loyal to its host, you naturally need to eliminate its soul. If there is spiritual intelligence, the people summoned are all proud and proud predecessors, how can they be willing to be driven by others? Upon hearing this, Su Chen could only helplessly say, "You make sense." "Do you mean that the people summoned will be transformed into puppets by you?" Ding dong, yes, different planes, different time and space, and different laws of heaven and earth. If they are not modified, the summoned ones will be rejected by the heavenly Tao of this world. So what you summon is just a puppet, without the original memory and ability. I thought I could one day summon a character from a mythological story to lead him to quack and kill. Now it seems that I have thought too much, and Su Chen felt a bit disappointed in his heart. Ding dong, yes. Of course, the host should not be too disappointed. The modified puppet summoned by this system, although lacking in spiritual intelligence, has extremely strong physical strength and is not afraid of attacks from divine spirits. Su Chen couldn't resist roast and said, "Nonsense, you don't even have a soul. Why would you be attacked by the gods? What is the strength of this puppet?" Because it is a dead object with no fluctuation in cultivation, he doesn't know what the strength of this puppet is unless he takes action. Just now, I saw that this puppet was able to kill the leader in black, and then directly turned it into flesh mud for a 2-layer cultivator in Qi refining. Su Chen estimated that its strength should be in the middle stage of Qi refining. Ding dong, the puppet summoned by this system will maintain the same level of strength as the host. The host is currently a 3-layer cultivator for Qi refining, but the puppet's physical body is powerful. Qi refining cultivators do not have many means in their hands, so the puppet can cross 1 or even 2 or 3 small levels to fight with its physical body. After listening to the system, Su Chen seemed to have thought of something and said, "Since the summoned characters are all going to be modified by you, if you refresh them multiple times in the future, you can directly throw the puppet into the system space." Ding dong, good host. After figuring it out, Su Chen withdrew the puppet from the system and began practicing. Chapter 10. Arriving at the mining area. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Bang bang bang, young master, are you all ready to leave now? The next morning, Tianmengjie came from outside the door with a slightly weak voice. Stepping out of the bedroom, I saw Tianmengjie's somewhat pale face, clearly indicating that his injury from last night had not yet recovered. Let's set off now, and don't ride horses outside. If you're injured, come sit in the carriage with me, Su Chen said. Thank you very much for your concern, young master. Tianmengjie gratefully said. The carriage was originally filled with the young master and his maid, but I don't know why the young master killed that maid last night. However, he didn't dare to talk too much. The maids of the Su family were originally bought with money, so naturally they would play and kill if they wanted to. So, the group headed towards the gold and iron ore area. In the evening, Su Chen finally arrived at the destination of this trip, the Jintai mining area. The gold and iron ore excavated within the gold and iron mining area is a material that can be used to forge magical tools for cultivators. This world of magical tools is divided into grades 1 to 9, with grade 9 being the highest. In theory, since the Su family has such a mine, there should be no shortage of magical tools in the clan. However, the Su family's forging technique for magical tools is very average, and it can even be said to be some waste. Not to mention high-level magical tools, even forging ordinary first-class magical tools may fail. So it also led to Tianmengjie, a cultivator in the hall, having only one mortal sword in his hand, which is also related to his low status in the Su family. After getting off the carriage, several members of the Su family came to greet them. The leader spoke respectfully and said, "The third young master has had a tiring journey. I am the deputy manager of the Jintai mining area, and I have prepared delicious wine and food for him. Please come with me, and on the way, I will also introduce the situation of the mining area to the young master." "Okay, you lead the way." The person in front of him is named Su Dakai, and he also has some understanding. A cultivator who is at the peak of the 5th level of Qi refining is still his elder in terms of seniority, but he is only a collateral member of the clan, and in the eyes of the legitimate descendants, he is not much different from the servants. Following Su Dakai into the mining area, Su Chen asked, "I heard that our gold and iron mining area can produce about 3,000 kilograms of gold and iron ore per month. According to the market price, we can sell 3,000 spirit stones. If the value of refining them into magical tools is higher, shouldn't this mine be the most profitable business for our Su family?" Upon hearing this, Su Da smiled bitterly and said, "I didn't expect that the third young master was in Jingyang City and had some knowledge about the mining area, but he didn't know anything about it. The mining area is the easiest place to die, and our Su family has to go to the government every year to buy a large number of death row inmates, which is a huge expense." Then he said, "As for refining into magical tools, alas. The success rate of the Su family's refining of magical tools, young Master San, should also have some understanding." Su Chen awkwardly smiled and said, "Hee, I've forgotten about this one." He also heard about the refining techniques of the Su family. At this moment, a scream suddenly came from nearby. Upon hearing the sound, Su Chen looked over and saw the servants of the Su family whipping two people kneeling on the ground wearing prison uniforms. Seeing Su Chen looking over there, Su Dakai explained, "This is punishing prisoners who want to escape. This kind of thing happens every month, and it's not very attractive. Let's go, third young master. Don't affect your appetite." Su Chen smiled and said, "It's okay, I'll go and take a look." Seeing that Su Chen insisted on going, Su Dakai and other members of the Su family had no choice but to follow along. Seeing the deputy steward following a young master, I thought he was the new steward of the Su family's third son. I quickly put down my whip and bowed, saying, "I've seen all the adults." Seeing another group of people coming, the leader was still a small white-faced man. A strong man who was bound and kneeling on the ground cursed, "Damn it, your mother should kill me now, otherwise I will sooner or later escape and slaughter your Su family." As soon as he finished speaking, a silver light flashed over him, and the strong man's head had already fallen to the ground. A prisoner next to him who had just wanted to curse along quickly stopped speaking. As the saying goes, it's better to live than to die. If you really die, then there's really nothing left. TSK, this is the first time I've heard such an excessive demand, and I actually took the initiative to ask me to kill him, Su Chen sneered. Seeing Su Chen killing someone so casually, the people around the Su family couldn't help but think to themselves, I can't believe the rumors. It's not like a spoiled young master. After killing this person, Su Chen asked the two servants, how do you usually deal with these prisoners who want to escape? Young Master Hui, the first time he escapes, he will only punish them. After all, buying these prisoners also cost a lot of money. But if there is another time, he will behead all the prisoners in front of them to warn the other prisoners. One of the servants said. Okay, today my young master has some fun. Go and strip this person of his clothes, wrap them in linen, soak them in an oil bucket, and wait for me to finish dinner before dealing with them. Remember to gather all the prisoners then, Su Chen said calmly. Although I didn't understand what third young master was going to do, the two servants still followed suit. After dinner, Su Chen brought Su Dukai, the deputy manager, and a group of small leaders from the Su family's gold and iron mining area, including Tianmengjie, to the prisoners' execution desk. Seeing the densely packed group of prisoners below at this moment, Su Chen spoke up and said, come and take him out of the oil barrel and tie him upside down to this pillar. The two servants immediately followed suit. The prisoner who was rescued, seeing the other people gathered below, seemed to know what was going to happen next. He quickly knelt on the ground and cried to the little white face in the afternoon, young master. Please spare me. I dare not dare again. I am a cultivator on the 4th level of Qi refining, and I am willing to swear to the heavenly Tao and be willing to do things for you. Please let me go. There is still a young son in my family that I need to take care of, Ah Wu. He was originally a casual cultivator, and the environment for casual cultivation was unimaginable. Feeling hopeless, he married an ordinary woman and gave birth to a son to live his life. As a result, one day while wandering in the city with his wife, he encountered a group of second-generation young masters teasing his wife. The young man was furious and his blood splattered 5 steps away. As a practitioner before, he couldn't bear a group of mortals and ants teasing his own women. Even if he killed those young masters, he thought he was just an ordinary group of wealthy children in the mortal world. How could he have imagined that some of them had connections with the immortal officials of the Flowing Cloud Immortal Dynasty, and they were arrested and imprisoned directly? Now that his cultivation was sealed off and sold to the Su family, he thought that his wife and children did not know what would happen after he was arrested. He was extremely anxious and prepared to escape from the mining area, resulting in the scene that Su Chen saw when he came.